She asked to borrow my pressure washer. I said I needed it back that weekend. It took her 3 weeks, and it came back broken. When I told her it wasn't okay, she said, "Maybe don't lend things you care about." So I took something too, but I didn't touch a thing on her property. I've lived in the same neighborhood for 12 years. Not a fancy place, but quiet, comfortable, and decent. Most folks around here mow their own grass, shovel their own driveways, wave when they pass you on the sidewalk. That kind of place. I keep to myself for the most part. I know my neighbors by name, and I'm not rude, but I don't go to cookouts or sit out on the porch to gossip. I work, I fix things around the house, I mind my business. But I'm also not a jerk. If someone needs something and I've got it, I'll help. That's just how I was raised. A few years back, I bought an older pressure washer from a guy who used to do house painting. Thing was a beast. It was loud, heavy, and powerful. I liked it because it actually worked, none of that cheap plastic crap. I kept it clean, stored it in the shed, and used it every spring and fall. Then Carrie moved in across the street. She seemed nice at first. Worked from home, friendly smile, always had a drink in her hand, coffee in the morning, wine at night. She had this kind of laid-back, breezy way about her. Called everyone hon, and acted like she'd known you forever. She'd borrowed things before. A rake. A stepladder. One time she asked for my cooler for a beach trip. Always a little too casual, like she was just assuming I'd say yes. But she always brought stuff back. Eventually. So when she knocked one Thursday afternoon and asked to borrow my pressure washer for the weekend, I didn't think much of it. "I just want to hit the patio and the siding," she said. "It'll only take a couple days. I'll bring it right back. Promise." I even helped her load it into her car. "Just need it back Sunday," I said. "I've got a project next week." She nodded like it was obvious. Of course. Sunday latest. Sunday came and went. No querrí. No pressure washer. I texted her Monday afternoon. No reply. I waited until Tuesday, then walked over. No answer. Her car was in the driveway, lights on in the living room. I knocked. Nothing. By Friday, I was irritated. It's not like this was a garden hose. This was an expensive, dangerous machine. If she broke it or let it sit out in the rain, I'd be out a few $100 at least. The following Saturday, almost 10 days passed when she said she'd return it. I saw her dragging it across the street like it was a broken suitcase. She didn't knock. Didn't say anything. Just wheeled it halfway up my driveway, turned around, and started walking off. I came outside. "Hey." She turned around, gave me this lazy smile. "Oh, hey, yeah. Meant to get that back sooner. Thanks again." I walked over to it. Right away, I knew something was off. The whole thing looked like it had been left outside. Covered in dirt. The gas cap was missing. One of the rubber wheels was half off the frame. I bent down and checked the handle. It was cracked. Not chipped. Cracked all the way through. The thing wobbled when I touched it. "Carrie, the handle's busted." She shrugged. "I dunno. It worked fine for me. And the gas is leaking. And this wheel is..." She cut me off. "Well, maybe don't lend out things you care about." Then she smiled and walked away. Like it was some kind of joke. I just stood there. She didn't even pretend to be sorry. Didn't offer to fix it or pay for it. She treated it like it was my fault for trusting her. I didn't yell. I didn't chase her down. I just stood there in the driveway, staring at what was left of something I took care of for years. And I decided, fine, I'll take something too. But I wouldn't touch a thing on her property. I didn't say a word to her after that day. Not a single text. Not even a nod from across the street. I went online, looked up parts for the washer. Turns out the handle wasn't easy to replace, and the frame had been bent, probably from her dragging it over rough concrete or loading it wrong. The whole unit was done. She cost me close to $400. And she didn't care. I didn't tell anyone about it. Not right away. But I started paying attention. I noticed little things. Her trash cans were always overflowing. Sometimes bags would sit out on the curb, ripped open by raccoons. She parked too close to the fire hydrant every damn week. Her dog barked constantly when she left the house. but none of that gave me an opening. Then one day, about a month later, I saw her leave. Big tote bag slung over her shoulder, laptop in hand, keys jingling. She locked up, got in her car, and drove off. That's when I saw it. Her front door didn't shut all the way. It bounced back slightly, left cracked open maybe an inch. She didn't notice. I walked over, looked around, then pushed the door gently. I didn't go in. I just stood there. I could see into her entryway. Purse on the side table, sandals by the mat, keys hanging on a little hook, mail tossed on a bench. I waited. Then I stepped back, let the door swing fully open, and left. Didn't touch a thing. Didn't take a thing. Just left it wide open. Then I went home and watched from my front window. It took about 2 hours before she came back. I saw her slow down as she pulled into the driveway. Her whole face changed when she saw the door open. She got out fast, rushed to the porch, looked around, then went inside. About 15 minutes later, I saw a cop car roll up. Then another. She called it in. They were there for an hour, maybe more, taking photos, asking her questions. I didn't say a word, just sat on my porch drinking a soda, watching like everyone else. She never knew I was the one who saw the door open. Never knew I was the one who left it that way. She didn't know if someone broke in, or maybe was still inside. She didn't know if she'd been watched, or if anything had been taken. And that uncertainty, that stayed. Because the next day, she installed a camera on her porch. 2 days later, another one in the backyard. She started locking her car in the driveway, something she never did before. She stopped borrowing things, stopped waving, stopped smiling. And I didn't say a damn thing. Not then. A few weeks went by. She kept her distance. No more knocks at the door. No more casual hon across the street. She barely looked over when we were both outside. Good. That was how I wanted it. But then something weird happened. Late one Friday night, I was outside putting out the trash. That's when I saw someone walking up to her porch. Not her. Not a neighbor. A guy, mid-20s maybe, hood up, hands in his pockets. He walked like he didn't belong. Paused at her front step, looked around, then reached under the doormat. I froze. He pulled out a spare key, let himself in. Just like that. I stood there in the dark, holding a trash bag, heart racing. I waited. A few minutes passed. No lights turned on. No sound. Then I saw him again, coming out with a box under his arm. He locked the door behind him, walked off into the night. I thought about calling the cops, but I didn't. Instead, I went inside and sat with it. It bothered me. Not just the guy, not just the key, but what it all meant. She was scared enough to get cameras and change how she lived, but still left a damn key under the mat? Either she was stupid or something else was going on. A few days later, I saw her again. She was coming back from a jog, earbuds in, face red. As she got to her porch, she paused, looked around, then stared right at me. I didn't flinch. She called out, "You see anyone near my house last weekend?" I raised an eyebrow. Nope. She looked like she wanted to say more, but she didn't. Just nodded slowly, went inside. Next morning, a note showed up in my mailbox. Not mailed. Just placed there. Sloppy handwriting. No envelope. It said, "Careful what you watch. Careful what you know." No name. No return address. I checked my cameras. Nothing. Whoever left it knew exactly where to walk. That's when I realized whatever I'd started wasn't over. And I wasn't the only one watching. I didn't sleep much that night. That note felt different. Not just creepy, but personal. Like someone was letting me know they knew exactly who I was, what I'd seen, and maybe even what I'd done. The next morning, I went outside and did a slow walk around my property. No signs of anything unusual, but I still couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been there. That weekend, I dug into my storage bin and found an old USB flash drive. I copied the last 2 weeks of security footage onto it just in case. Then, I did something I hadn't planned on. I crossed the street and knocked on Carrie's door. She opened it just a crack. Her eyes were tired. No makeup, hair tied back. "What?" she said flat. I held up the note. "Someone left this in my mailbox." She looked at it for a long moment, then opened the door wider and snatched it from my hand. She read it, didn't react, just handed it back. "You should be careful," she said. "That's not an answer." She sighed, looked around, then stepped out onto the porch. "It's probably nothing. Some idiot playing games. That guy who came by last week. You know him?" Her jaw tightened. "You saw him?" "Yeah." She hesitated, then looked me straight in the eye. "I didn't think he'd come back. We used to date. He's not supposed to be anywhere near here." I didn't say anything, just waited. "He took something. Not even mine. Just a box of photos, some papers. I didn't report it. Doesn't matter." "That box mattered to someone?" She nodded slowly. "More than they want to admit." I didn't ask more. Something in her face told me I didn't want to know. But the way she said it, it wasn't just personal. It was dangerous. That night, I reviewed the footage again. The guy had been careful. Hoodie up, head down, gloves on. But one thing caught my eye. As he walked down her driveway with the box, he paused by the curb, looked back at her house, then right at my camera, and smiled, like he knew I was watching. That smile stuck with me. It wasn't random. It wasn't just a guy who happened to glance up. It was deliberate. Calm. Like he wanted me to see him. I started locking everything, doors, shed, even my garage, which I never used to bother with. Installed a new motion sensor by the side yard. Upgraded the camera over my driveway. It felt paranoid, but something told me this wasn't over. A few days later, I was in the backyard trimming the hedges when I heard footsteps on gravel. I turned fast, nobody there. But on my back fence, hanging off one of the posts, was a Polaroid photo. Just clipped there. I walked over slowly and pulled it down. It was a picture of Carrie's driveway. Taken from my angle, my porch, at night. And on the bottom, written in black Sharpie, "You see everything. So tell me why lie." I dropped it. Went inside. Locked the door. Sat at the kitchen table staring at nothing. This was getting past creepy. Someone had been on my property, taken a picture from my porch, and left it for me like a threat. And somehow they thought I was lying. I pulled out the flash drive again. Rewatched everything. Nothing showed anyone on my porch. Nothing showed them near the fence. It didn't make sense, unless they knew where the blind spots were. Unless they'd been here before. That night, I barely slept. Every creak in the house felt louder. Every shadow outside looked like it was moving. In the morning, I walked out and found another note. "No envelope." Just taped to the inside of my storm door. "Don't forget, you left her door open." That's when I realized something terrifying. Whoever this was, they weren't just watching now. They'd been watching the whole time. The note hit harder than the others. It wasn't just a reminder. It was a message. They knew exactly what I did. That I didn't just see something, or happen to be nearby. They knew I opened her door. Left it that way. Carrie might not have figured it out, but someone had. And now they were turning it into leverage. That night, I didn't eat. Just sat in the living room with the lights off, watching the street through a crack in the blinds. My phone buzzed once, an unknown number. No message. Just a missed call. When I dialed it back, it rang once and disconnected. I started thinking back. What was in that box? The one the guy took? Why hadn't she reported it? What was she hiding, and how had I ended up in the middle of it? The next morning, I decided I'd had enough. I crossed the street again. Knocked on her door. She didn't answer. I knocked harder. Finally, the door cracked open. She looked even worse than before, eyes red, skin pale, shaking slightly. "You need to tell me what's going on," I said. She didn't say anything. Just opened the door wider and walked back inside. I followed. Her house was a mess. Papers everywhere, boxes half-packed, dishes piled up. A duffel bag sat on the couch, half-zipped. She was leaving. "They know what I did," I said. "They left a photo. Notes. They're watching me." She laughed under her breath. They watch everybody. Who are they? She rubbed her face. It's not just one guy.
He's part of something.
It's stupid. I don't know how to explain it. That box? It had stuff from when I was married. Things I was supposed to get rid of. Like what? Names. Documents. A backup drive. Nothing illegal. Just old. I waited. My ex was involved in some shady stuff. He made people mad. Real ones. After we split, I kept some of his crap because I thought it would protect me. Insurance, you know? But it didn't. They want it gone. Why did you take the pressure washer? That made her pause. She looked at me for a long time. Because you were the only one who ever told me no. I didn't know what to say to that. Then she looked up. And now you're involved. Because you opened that door. You changed something. So what happens now? She looked back down. I leave. And you pretend you never met me. Then she handed me something small, cold, metal. A USB drive. This has copies. In case anything happens to me. Don't open it unless you have to. And just like that, I was holding a piece of someone else's life. Someone else's danger. I walked home with that USB drive in my hand, feeling like it weighed 50 pounds. I didn't put it in my pocket. I didn't even close my fist around it. I just held it like I didn't know what to do with it. Inside, I put it in a drawer in the kitchen. Not the junk drawer. The one under it, with the appliance manuals and old batteries. I figured if someone broke in, they'd check the obvious places first. Then I sat down and stared at the wall. I should have called someone. The cops, maybe.
But what would I say?
That a neighbor gave me a flash drive full of God knows what, said goodbye like she was running from the mob, and told me I'd been watched? I didn't even know her real last name. I realized that then.
Carrie.
Just Carrie. No mail visible, no packages I ever saw. That night, she was gone. I saw her car leave around midnight. No headlights for the first block. A duffel bag in the back seat. That was the last time I saw her. The next morning, her house looked untouched. Blinds closed, porch light still on. But by the third day, someone came by. Not a moving truck. Not a real estate agent. Just a man in a gray hoodie and black jeans. Middle-aged.
Thin. Calm.
He let himself in with a key. Was inside for maybe 20 minutes. Walked out with a backpack and nothing else. I got a clear shot of his face on my camera. But when I went to pull the footage, everything from that hour was corrupted. Just static. Only that hour. The rest of the day? Crystal clear. So now I had a drive I was afraid to open, cameras that had been tampered with, and a hole in my life where normal used to be. A week later, an envelope showed up under my welcome mat.
No stamp.
No writing. Inside, a single printed photo.
Of me.
Standing in my driveway. Looking straight at the camera. And underneath, typed in small black letters. You know now. You can't unknow it. After that photo, I stopped sleeping. Not just restless nights, I mean full-on insomnia. I stayed up with the lights on, checking windows every half hour. I started carrying a flashlight and a crowbar when I walked the property. Like that'd help. I couldn't shake it. That image of me, captured by someone else's camera, maybe a drone, maybe from a distance, I didn't know. But someone had eyes on me, and they wanted me to feel it. Every time I opened the fridge, turned on the faucet, walked down the hallway, I wondered, am I being watched right now? I finally caved and opened the flash drive. My hands were shaking the whole time. I used an old laptop I hadn't connected to the internet in years. No camera, no mic, sat in the basement with the blinds down and the lights off. There were 6 folders. All numbered. No names. Inside, documents. Scans of IDs. Invoices. Wire transfer receipts. Offshore accounts. All tied to a company name I didn't recognize. But what scared me most, pictures. Of people. Men in suits. Women at desks. Kids. Taken from a distance. Labeled by name, date, location. Some of them looked like surveillance stills. Others looked like driver's license photos someone wasn't supposed to have. And one folder was titled, Containment. Inside, a single video file. I didn't watch it. I couldn't. I ejected the drive and buried it in a bag of cat litter in the garage. Triple bagged it, taped it shut, sealed it in an old cooler under boxes of tile. And then I waited. Waited for the knock. Waited for someone to come back. A few days later, someone did. But they didn't knock. They left something on my back steps. An envelope. Inside, a grainy, low-light photo of me holding the USB drive. And, behind me, barely visible, someone standing at the edge of my shed. Watching. That photo undid me. I didn't even remember the moment it was taken. But there it was, my back turned, holding the drive like it meant something, and behind me, that shadow. Not close. Not rushing. Just there. Present. Watching. I didn't go back outside for 2 days. Didn't mow the lawn. Didn't check the mail. I called in sick to work and let the dishes pile up. I kept every curtain shut, every door locked. And I thought about what she said. That box? It had stuff from when I was married. This wasn't just about her ex. It wasn't even about her. It was about something he'd done and what she had on it. And now, because I'd opened that door, because I thought I was teaching someone a lesson about borrowing tools and respect, I'd stepped into it. They weren't after her anymore. They were watching me. I thought about destroying the drive, burning it, mailing it to nowhere. But then I remembered her face, how tired she looked, how she said, "Don't open it unless you have to." And the worst part? I didn't know if I already had. Sometimes I wonder if she's still alive. If she's out there watching, too, wondering if I kept it safe, or if I made it worse. But I've never seen her again. And now, every time I hear a knock I didn't expect, or see a car I don't recognize parked across the street, I remember what she said before she left. You changed something. I think about that a lot. How something so small can ruin everything.